I'm back. I'm only here for about 2.5 weeks visiting family during Christmas time. And so I'm in the United States. Jenny is in China. And trust me, you'll see some of that at some point. But right now, I would say officially, the first leg of my trip around the world is over. And it's pretty surreal. It's a pretty crazy experience to look back on and reflect and think about all the incredible days and places I've been and just everything that I've gotten to see and be part of, the people I've met, the foods I've tried, everything. I mean, it's been beyond my wildest dreams how amazing it's been. And I wanted to take some time to talk about the best days of this first leg of the trip. And so this is similar to that Ljubljana video where it's a little off the cuff. I do have a list in front of me, but I don't really have too much on them other than maybe a couple of words about what we did that day. So I just wanted to take this time to just talk about my favorite days while the memories are still kind of fresh. I don't have footage for every single one of these days, but I still have some photos and I have all kinds of different, ways to document that, and of course memories that I want to share now because don't want to lose them. So we'll just jump right in and I'll tell you what number day that was. These were my favorite days of the first leg so far. So first are basically every day in Madeira, and I'm going to narrow it down, don't worry, but those first 8 days in Madeira are like a dream. We did so many crazy things. We met so many amazing people. It was just a blast. We had so much fun. If I had to narrow it down to one or two, I would say the favorites were probably the second day in Madeira. We did this long hike along the Levada, and that was really amazing. Just, me and Jenny, and then we caught the bus back to Funchal, even though we had no idea how we were going to get back because we didn't take the trail and come back. We just were like, oh, let's just take the trail all the way to the end and, walk until we see a town, and then we'll take a bus from there. And I don't know, there was just something really special about that. The other day in Madeira that was really great was the day we picked up a rental car with Katie and Kata. That was a lot of fun. We had such a blast. They were so awesome to tag along and to help split the cost of the car. And I mean, we got to see so many cool places that we wouldn't have gotten to see otherwise because they volunteered to come along, and it ended up just being a ton of fun. Like, we had such a great time, and I filmed a lot in Madeira, and ironically, the days that I had the most fun were the ones I didn't film, which, as we go through the list, you're going to see that a lot of these favorite days were days that I did film. So it's just kind of funny that first week, those days specifically that I didn't film ended up being some of the best. From there, day 10, which was the day we did the historical walking tour in Porto. It absolutely turned Porto around for us. We weren't crazy about the city when we first got there, but that tour and Nuno, I mean, we just had such a great time, and I'm so grateful that we signed up for that. That was our first free walking tour, and it was phenomenal. It was so good. Day 12, that was our first full day in Madrid. So we landed in Madrid the day before, and this was the first full day in Madrid. We just kind of got to see town for the first time, the main square. We got to have some churros. It was just really nice. And then that evening we went to Toledo, and we went to a nice restaurant for dinner after walking around the old town for a bit. And then they had this medieval market that they had all these different like street vendors and foods and stuff. And that, oh my gosh, I wish we hadn't eaten dinner before because there was so much good food at that market. Toledo was just so fun, and huge shout out to Jenny's family there for taking us, up there to show us around, and we had so much fun. And we had so much fun in Madrid, but that day in Toledo, like Jenny and I still talk about it, like still how much fun we had. Next, I would say day 27 was Jenny and I's 1-year dating anniversary, which is insane to say out loud. But we were in Sevilla, and that was our full day in the city of Sevilla. And I mean, there's not a lot of cities that I would put in like S tier. Sevilla to me is like an S tier city. Like there's just so many amazing things. I could sit here and talk about it for the entire video. I won't, of course, but yeah, it was just so fun seeing Plaza de España and just walking around the town. We did a historical walking tour that evening as well. We learned how to flamenco dance a little bit. It was really sweet. It was a really lovely anniversary. We had a great lunch, a nice dinner, and we had some drinks afterwards. It was just, it was better than any anniversary I think I could have ever made happen here in the United States. So I'm just really grateful for that. Day 33, that's the day we filmed the food tour in Madrid. And I mean, it was as fun to do as it was, if if you watched it. Like it was just, we just ate all day and then we napped and then we went and ate more. And oh, it was just a blast. Every place we ate was like phenomenal. The food was delicious. That dinner we went to, I took so much footage because it was so good. And it was like, such a nice kind of goodbye before we left Madrid. Man, that was such a great day. That was so fun. Shout out Yang Yang. He was like such a champ. He was so like camera shy at the start of the video, and by the end, he was just like leading, directing. It was so fun to watch. Oh my gosh, that was such a good day. Yeah, days 36 and 37. Those were our first 2 days in Morocco. We had just gotten to Essaouira like at 8 p.m. the night prior. And I just remember being so nervous that first day. I was like, I don't know what to expect. Like, are we safe here? Like, it was crazy. And now it's like, I look at it, it's like one of the most amazing places in the world, Essaouira. And I remember that first day we went to the fish market and we were just like, we had no idea what we were doing. We were like, we're not supposed to be here. And we got tacos, French tacos, and we sat on the old historic wall and watched the sunset. Oh my gosh, and we rode camels that day too. I forgot about that. We rode camels on the beach. We weren't going to do it, but we were going to wait because we figured we would do it in Marrakesh. But then we're like, let's just do it here. I don't know why, but thank God we did because Marrakesh fell through. But yeah, it was like so awesome. And then the second day, we did the walking tour with Miriam, and oh my gosh, like that group, that the five of us, we were like laughing and joking, having such a good time. And oh man, it was like such a blast that day. And what was supposed to be like a 3 hour walking tour ended up being like 6 or 7 hours. It was insane. The stuff we saw, the stuff we did, the people we met. And when we went back to the fish market with Miriam, it was like completely different experience. It felt like we were supposed to be there. I got some of my favorite pictures I've ever taken, like ever, with my camera while we were at the fish market, while we were on that tour that day. I mean, just such a blast. Like such 2 great days. I would argue those 2 days might be my favorite days of the entire trip because those first 2 days really just, I mean, they set the bar for the rest of the trip for me. It's crazy how much I look at that as a formative experience of this trip for me. And then I got food poisoning the next couple days, so it balanced out. Day 47, so we're skipping ahead a little bit. And it's funny because, like, during this time, food poisoning, and then we went to Rabat, and I loved Rabat to death. But when I was looking at the photos and stuff, I was like, well, there wasn't really one specific day that was like the best day. The day that stood out for me was our very last day in Rabat, and we took a train from Rabat to Fez that afternoon around like 3 or 4 p.m. And so we kind of just tried to knock out everything that we hadn't seen in Rabat yet and just walk around and take pictures. I remember it being kind of hot, so we were sweating through that a little bit, but it was just such a nice day, such a nice way to wrap up our time in Rabat. And I remember telling Jenny, I was like, this is like the first place that I'm really sad because I don't know when I'll be back. Because there's not a lot for us in Rabat, but it just felt so safe and comfortable. And I mean, that warrants its own video at some point, just talking about my love for Rabat. And then I remember getting to Fez. We took the train ride was lovely. And then we got to Fez, and it was like just so much going on. Like it was like being in Manhattan for the first time. Like there was just like, noises and people and crowds everywhere. And I remember just being like blown away by it. It was unlike anywhere I'd ever been before. And that was really cool. That was a neat experience. This is a good segue into day 49, where being in Fez was less of a cool experience. It gets kind of tiring kind of quickly. It's a lot. You're constantly being bugged by people, offered this, shown that, whatever. It gets old. And I remember we were talking to this friend we had made, Nathan, who you know by now, and I was just said, oh, I would just love to take like a hike, just like get out into nature. And I was looking at Google Maps and I was like, oh, right by this famous monument thing outside of town, there's a start of a hiking trail. I mean, we got to do that, right? And Nathan was like, yeah, he's like, I'll tag along with you if you do it. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I don't care. I was like, okay, cool. And so on day 49, we did that hike, and it took most of the day. And then we got Chinese food after, and it was so good. One of the best Chinese meals of the trip, in my opinion. It was one of the best Chinese meals of the trip, was that Chinese restaurant. We got so much food. We were starving. We had skipped lunch, and it was cheap. So we just piled up. It was, oh, that was such a funny day. I don't even remember what we did the rest of the day after that. I just remember specifically the hike and the Chinese food. That was a fun one. And then day 54 is also a hike in Morocco. It's the Akchor Falls hike, which even though the falls were dried up, even though we didn't go swimming like we wanted to, we saw the monkeys, which was amazing. The Grand Taxi was one of the funniest things that we've experienced on the trip up to that point. And I just remember it being really beautiful. Like, we met some cool people on the trail, and it was just like really lovely. Like, it's just like being out in nature in this valley. Like, I just remember being like blown away. I was constantly like looking up, gawking at the canyon walls. It was really stunningly beautiful, and it is like not something people talk about a lot. Everybody's so obsessed with Chefchaouen and seeing all the blue buildings and stuff, and it was cool, but after like a day, it's kind of like, all right, like, I want to see the mountains. This is the thing up here that is supposed to be like really truly spectacular, and I'm so glad that we did that. That was worth it, and it was so cheap. It was like $5 round trip each to get there. So 100%, like, that was definitely the play. That was a good day. And then that's it for Morocco. From there, it's day 56, which is our layover in Paris. And I mean, I fell in love instantly. Like, I was blown away by just how amazing Paris was, how amazing the architecture was. The food we had was phenomenal. I mean, the monuments speak for themselves, you know. I just loved it. Like, I really was surprised at how much I loved it. And I love DC. You know, I lived there for a little while, and it's always just felt like home to me. And Paris just kind of hit me in a similar way. It was, I mean, yeah, there's no place like it. I know it's got its issues. I know it's not for everybody, but it's definitely for me. And I cannot wait to go back to France. And that's one of the first trips I kind of want to take when we're back here, is like a French trip. Yeah, just phenomenal. And oh yeah, and we got soju at a Korean market. We got soju, and they had nacho cheese spicy Doritos, and they were like the best chips I've ever had. They were so good, and I'm gonna keep a lookout for them when we're in Korea. And I remember we were just up by the church, I forget the name of it, just like overlooking the city and drinking soju. It was so funny. It was just like such a nice experience together. And then we got escargot, and I'm, you know my feelings about that. I was shocked by how good it was. And that was just a layover. That's crazy. We started that day at like 3 p.m. and we almost missed our flight that morning. That's the insane thing. That's another reason why it's one of my favorite days. We barely caught our flight because we got stuck at immigration, because every time we were going to go, something would happen. Like, they wheelchaired an old lady in front of us, and then our immigration officer just got up and left. And we, like, when we got to the gate, they were like, you're late, we're closing the gate. And we're like, we know, like, please let us on the plane. And they let us on, and we flew to Paris. So that whole day was just wild. It was awesome, though. I wouldn't change it for the world. And then day 60, so at this point we're in Sicily. Day 60 is Palermo. From Palermo we went to Cefalù, which I have a whole video on. And if you've watched the video, you know that it was a busy day, and we did a lot of hiking, and it was one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life. I mean, really, like, that was everything I expected Sicily to be. And I don't have like the most amazing things to say about our time in Sicily, but I can tell you that our day in Cefalù is one of my favorite days of the trip, for sure. In a similar light, on day 62, we we took a bus from Palermo to Catania. And I remember that bus ride just being really like pretty. I listened to some albums. Jenny was asleep, of course, and it was just beautiful. It was like really like a stunning drive. And then Catania, I thought was really nice. I mean, we were at a hostel, and the staff at the hostel were really awesome. And we had a nice dinner, and we just were walking around seeing all the churches. The churches in Catania were spectacular. Like I was really impressed by some of those churches, and it was nice because they didn't charge you for them. And like Palermo, every church like costs money to go into, which that's a tangent for a different day. So yeah, getting to Catania that first night before we picked up the rental car, that was really cool. I enjoyed that. So now at this point, we're at days 67 through 73. And that's a wide range. It's similar to Madeira, where it's just a massive range. And that's basically our entire time in Slovenia. I just don't have enough good things to say about the country, its people, its food, the mountains. It's like, I mean, if you want a vacation that is relaxing but adventurous, it's like the perfect balance. And it's affordable. It's got everything you could possibly want. It even has beaches, which is insane. I mean, it's like it's literally got everything. It's Slovenia feels like Maryland of Europe. It's the weirdest thing. It's like just got a little bit of everything for everybody, and good food. It was our time in Slovenia was spectacular. We felt rested. We felt adventurous. We went on some crazy hikes, and the best one was on day 72 when we hiked up in the national park. I forget the name. I'll put it on the screen. But the national park around there, the trail was crazy. There were some steep, kind of sketchy parts to it, but it felt like real and true alpine hiking. It was like I've never done a hike that beautiful in my life, and I was just blown away by the scenery. And the drive that day was really great as well. I mean, we stopped at a lot of beautiful spots along the way. We had a really nice, really nice grocery store breakfast. Yeah, it was just all around was a really spectacular day, day 72. But our whole time in Slovenia would go in my favorite days. I know 100% it would go in Jenny's favorite days as well. It was her favorite country so far, I think. Next, we've got day 77. We drove up the Croatian coast, the Dalmatian coast in Croatia, from Split to Zadar, and we just kind of stopped whenever like a town grabbed our eye. And so we stopped at a couple of towns, and I don't remember the names of them, but I will put them on the screen. And they were both really lovely, but especially the second town. I mean, the drone footage I got there was great. And then we went to like a coffee shop, and I got like a cup of tea. Jenny got a coffee. And the girl who was working there was Filipino, and she was just singing her heart out to like these Filipino like classic ballad songs. And it was like the sweetest, cutest, funniest thing ever. Like we were like smiling the entire time we were there. We just were like, we instantly jumped on Google, like 5 stars, amazing voice, good tea, good coffee. The town was like so peaceful because like it was shoulder season, so nobody was there, but the weather was spectacular. And we climbed up to the top of the hill, and it overlooks everything. Oh my gosh, I mean, just amazing. I wish I had more footage of it, but I'm also so glad that I don't, because like I was just in the moment there, and that was amazing. And then we got to Zadar, and our hostel was pretty nice, but we got to Zadar and we got dinner at this seafood place. It was phenomenal. I mean, it was like Jenny got like I think like a seafood risotto, and it was so good. Oh my gosh, like like hers was delicious. My food was good too. That whole day was awesome. And then the next day, we met Jack, who'll come back later, but we met our friend Jack, and like ended up talking to him for like an hour that morning, just getting to know each other. And then Jenny and I drove up to Plitvice, and we hiked there, and it was like, oh my gosh, Plitvice was beautiful. As you've probably seen from my video, I mean, it's just like, it was, at first it wasn't very peaceful because of all the crowds, but by the end it was just calm, relaxing. It was like being out in nature felt so good. And that's going to be a common theme in some of these favorite days for me, was the nature trips, being out hiking, whatever. Like if I can say any big takeaways from this first leg of the trip, it's that my favorite days have been a lot of hikes and being surrounded by nature and away from crowds and people. And I love cities, but like those days really just, you just get that peace that you can't get anywhere else, you know, and it's amazing. All right, next up is day 80, and I promise you we're getting close to the end, but we're at day 80, and this was our first full day in Bosnia and Herzegovina. That's another common one. It's like our first full day in a country. Our first full day in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we were supposed to do tours and stuff, and we ended up not doing them. We ended up just kind of hanging around in Mostar because the weather was a bit unpredictable at the time. And that day, like, we knew that we had to shop and get errands done. There was a lot of things that we had to get done, and we were coming from a stretch of just like 3 kind of pricey countries, like, you know, Sicily during the summer, Slovenia, which isn't pricey, but relative to our budget is pricey, and then Croatia, which, again, same thing as Slovenia. But Bosnia and Herzegovina is very affordable. Like, I can't say enough good things about the prices and, you know, what you can buy there. And so we went shopping and we got errands done. We got some medications and stuff. And I mean, I remember having such a fun time. Like, I got a haircut for the first time in a while. That felt so good. I just remember feeling really nice. I remember it feeling really good to do regular things again, like just, you know, shopping, you know, getting errands done. Like, it just felt like grounding in a weird way. And that was really nice. I did like that a lot. That was a fun day. I can't really explain why. I guess it's just getting acquainted with the area. We did splurge on a really nice breakfast that day too, with a view of the bridge and the river. And that was a great way to start the day. So yeah, I mean, that whole day in Mostar in general was great, but that day was really nice. We had a really good time, you know, just doing those regular human things, you know. It just felt normal again. Okay, so next we're going to jump back into Croatia. So we did Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and then back to Croatia. But we went south and we went to Dubrovnik. And every day in Dubrovnik was amazing. Listen, Dubrovnik, we all know people love to go there. People love to vacation there. I was nervous because I was like, oh boy, very touristy, very expensive, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was amazing. It was one of the coolest places I've been in my life. And the first day we went swimming in like this amazing cove and beach with a sea cave. And then I don't even remember what we did the rest of the day. Oh, I think that day, no, we hiked the next day. I don't remember what else we did on the swimming day. I'd have to look into that. The next day, Jenny and I hiked up to the top of the mountain to overlook the city. And then we grabbed dinner with Jack from Zadar and caught up with him about how, you know, his time so far had been on his trip, because, you know, we were kind of like filling each other in on the last few days before we kind of parted ways. And then the next day, my good friend Brian, who lives here in Maryland, happened to be in Dubrovnik, and we knew ahead of time that that was the case. So we met up with him at the bus station and we showed him around what we had seen. We had done the city wall earlier that day, and we just kind of explored the town together. And then we had an awesome Bosnian dinner. That place was so good. And it was right by where we were staying, which was nice. That just our entire time in Dubrovnik, like, we got to spend with good people. We got to do some really amazing stuff, and we actually stayed in budget, which blew me away. I could not believe that we stayed in budget, like, because it was so, not so expensive, but it was definitely the most expensive place I think we had been to up to that point on the trip. So yeah, I was very happy when we walked away from that in budget. After Dubrovnik, we took a bus to Kotor in Montenegro, and on day 87, a guy that we had met on that bus happened to be from Virginia, and we were like, oh, like, maybe we'll see you around in Kotor. We had been chatting with him at the the Croatian Montenegrin border. And then we climbed the fortress in Kotor. We climbed to the top of it, and we saw him up there, and we were like, hey, like, no way, you know, that's so funny. And so he asked, he's like, oh, like, are you heading back down? And we were like, yeah, but there's this like cheese shop, like local cheese shop type thing behind the fortress. But you have to kind of climb out of the fortress to get there. And he was just like, okay, let's do it. And we were like, really? And he was like, yeah. And I don't think Jenny would have done it if he hadn't done it. So shout out Steve for, you know, being willing to do it. And that climb was so funny. I've got great video of other people doing that climb. I mean, it's just like you had to really watch your step. And then this German family was like, can you help us in? And we're like, yeah. So we helped the German family in. And then, yeah, that was the first time I heard of Rocky too. Steve ordered Rocky, and I was like, what the heck is that? I think it was Rocky at least. And yeah, he paid for like the cheeses and stuff. I mean, yeah, huge shout out to Steve. Amazing guy. Really like grateful that we ran into him and that we even had him to talk on the bus ride. And then we hiked down together, and the hike down for like behind the fortress to me was so much better and so much more relaxing because there was like no people. Where climbing up the stairs of the fortress, like their crowds were crazy. So I definitely like I would recommend doing that instead of the fortress. The fortress is cool, but like it's good for the views, but that climb behind is like really, really stunning. What's next? Oh, I actually have to scroll now. Okay, hold on. All right. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 left. All right. So day 91. So at this point, I'm finally getting over a horrible ear infection that I got from the swimming day in Dubrovnik. You can see the timeline kind of correlate. After some bad weather in Kotor and a long bus ride to Tirana, which hopefully you watched the video by now, we had our first full day in Albania, and the architecture in Tirana like just blew us away immediately. Like I loved the buildings. I loved the modern kind of like the statement pieces that the city had. And we also had some great food that day. I mean, you know, it wasn't like this kind of like crazy day in a sense, but we hated our hostel that we were staying in. So we just really did our best to not be at the hostel as much as possible. And we ended up just wandering around the city a ton. We probably put a lot of steps on our phones that day. But it was awesome. It was a ton of fun, really beautiful city, and we just had a good time exploring Tirana. I just, you know, I don't know why, I just hold that day, you know, in my heart very fondly. Day 93, we picked up our rental car. We drove to Berat in Albania, so about 2 hours south, and we stayed at a homestay on a farm, and they brought us like homemade pomegranate juice and all these fruits that were picked fresh, and they had these really sweet cats and this cute puppy, and oh, that was so awesome. We sat with them for like 2 hours just like talking about life growing up in Albania and, you know, just the differences between life in America and Albania. And I couldn't even tell you like the specific things we talked about. I just remember in that moment just feeling so much peace and relaxation. And then we went to this restaurant that is supposed to be really hard to get a spot in, and Jenny and I happened to get the last spot in there. And oh my gosh, the food was so freaking good. They sat us with this group from this hostel, and that was really cool to hang out with them. We ended up going and playing pool with them afterwards, especially Ollie. Shout out Ollie. And we just, the dinner was good. I mean, the whole place was lively, and we were just grateful to even have a spot. And then there was a group of students sitting next to us at that restaurant who I had seen earlier that day when we were walking around Berat, like the older part up top. And I was like, oh, I think I saw them earlier. And we just happened, I don't know how we ended up speaking. I think Jenny said something in Chinese, and they kind of like peeked over, and we are like, oh, hey, whatever, you know. And then later on, like 3 days later, we would run into them, like total opposite side of the country. We ran into them at these like Roman ruins, and we were like, no freaking way. Like, it was so funny. So we ended up bumping into them like 3 times, and that was one of the times that we saw them, was at that dinner. I'm rambling. That day in Berat was awesome. Just really lovely day. Good food, good people, had a lot of fun, played some pool for the first time in a while, and Berat itself was just magnificently beautiful. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about Berat. Really recommend the visit there. It lived up to the hype for me. Day 98, so we're skipping a few days ahead. This is our last day in Albania. I filmed a $5 food video, which hopefully you've watched by now. And also, we had our spa day. I had never had a massage before, and because it was almost day 100, I wanted to treat us for traveling for almost 100 days straight. And so we both got massages. We stayed at this really nice hotel in Tirana, not too far from the airport. And oh my gosh, that place was awesome. Their restaurant in the hotel was good. We got some beers and then we just drank and sat by the pool. The massage was my first massage, and I can't go back. It was like, I mean, that being able to relax like that afterwards was just amazing. And we had to get up at like 4:30 in the morning the next day, but I didn't even care because I was so like chill after that. It was awesome. I mean, there wasn't really anything crazy about that day. It was kind of just like we ate some cheap food and we got massages and we stayed at a nice place. That was it. It was best rest day, you know, not a traditional rest day for us, but one of the most restful days of the trip. Day 100. I mean, I have a whole video on it, you know, and did it go perfect? No. But we got to explore one of the monasteries in Meteora. We got to drive around and see them for the first time. That was awesome. I mean, that was like, there was nothing like that experience. And Meteora was high on my list of places that I wanted to visit. And so I had pretty high expectations for it, and it still blew them out of the water. And even Jenny was like shocked at how amazing these places were. So that was a fun day, but I have a whole video on that, so you'll know why that was cool. And that next morning, you know, kind of bled into day 100, and that was really awesome as well. And then, so it's interesting. I have a big gap here between day 100 and then day 110. And so in that time, we went to Delphi, and then we went to Athens, and we had 2 rest days in Athens, and then we explored like the monuments and stuff. And then we had 3 days in Hania on the island of Crete. And all those days were great. I mean, I wouldn't say there was really any bad days in there. It was just none of them were favorites. I just kind of really liked Greece, but it wasn't like any of those days was like, oh my gosh, this is the best day ever, you know? Until we got to the days that we had a rental car in Crete. So days 110 to about we'll say 113. And the reason I say it like that is because I listed this as the beaches of Crete, which the beaches were like the main thing that I really just was blown away by. I've never seen beaches like those in Crete. But on day 113, we had the rental car until about 7 p.m. before we had to fly back, or before we had to fly to Georgia. And the hike we did in the gorge there was really beautiful. That was really nice. So I would include that in there. But I would say like the ones that really stand out to me are the days that we went to a beach, which were days 110, 111, and 112. Those days were unreal. And day 110 kind of didn't start spectacular because we were supposed to do the famous gorge hike there, at least some of it, and it was closed, which in retrospect made sense. The rain was pretty rough. It was like the weather wasn't great at first. But we kind of still hiked anyways, and then we got to our place on the beach, which was like immaculately beautiful. And then we walked on the beach, had an amazing dinner. Yeah, just really any day that we had a car in Crete was like just so spectacular. And I have a video on Crete, and it's kind of short. I wish I had more time to talk about it and tell you about it because, I mean, oh, it's like, there's no place like it to me. Like that is relaxation right there. Like you just, especially that time of year when it's like there's not as many tourists and the beaches are just empty, like you feel like you have the world to yourself. It's an amazing feeling. All right, so now we jump to Georgia and Armenia because we're looking at days 117 and 118. I filmed day 118, that's the Armenia video, and I mean, Armenia changed my worldview completely on how other people live. It just felt like Northern Armenia just felt so like different from anywhere I had been, and it really just kind of blew my mind. Life just felt simpler. Things like it just felt like walking into like a time machine. I mean, I was blown away by the architecture, the people, the food, and our tour guide was amazing. And in the same light, the day before, we had another amazing tour, but we went up to northern Georgia. We were about maybe 10 miles from the Russian border, and we were looking at the mountains and the churches up there, and that was really, really cool. I mean, that was a ton of fun. Our groups on both days were so awesome. Like, the people we met were some of the nicest, most fun people we had met on our trip so far, to the point that on the first day's tour, the one to northern Georgia, we were stuck in like a 3-hour traffic jam. And it was still like fun. It was still a good time because we had this group and good tour guides. And I'm just really grateful for that, because that could have been miserable otherwise. So yeah, both of those days were amazing. Absolutely loved them. Cannot recommend Georgia or a visit to Armenia enough. And then now we jump to the last 2 days of this list, which were 2 days of our almost 2 weeks in Romania. And our time in Romania was kind of disappointing. We weren't crazy about it, but there were 2 days that really blew us away. The first one, we did a historical tour on like communism in Romania and Bucharest especially. And that group was awesome. We just hung out with them the rest of the day. They were so much fun. I mean, like, I can't shout out those people enough for showing us such a good time. And we all went to a restaurant together afterwards. We had drinks, and it was just so fun. Like, I really hope we keep in touch with everybody from that group, because every single person was like great in like a completely different way. Like, it was such kind of like a hodgepodge group of people, but I mean, every single person was just so fun to talk to and spend time with. And that's another one of my favorite days of the trip. And that's another common theme, is like when we have good tour groups or we meet good people and get to do stuff with them, like that automatically bumps a day up to favorite level for me, because it's just so nice to share those experiences and memories with people, and hopefully make friends along the way. And then very last is day 129, and that was Jenny's birthday. And we saw the Craiova Christmas market. And that was just a really lovely day. It was a nice way to spend Jenny's birthday. And some of the other Christmas markets had been a little bit disappointing, but the Craiova one was not disappointing. That one was awesome. That place was so cool. Our dinner was amazing. The lights were just so beautiful. And I don't know. I mean, it was just, there wasn't anything really crazy about the day, other than obviously it was Jenny's birthday, but it was just, a really nice day together, like me and her. And, that was really nice to spend her birthday together, because it was close. I left a couple days later. So that was important to me, that no matter what, like, our birthdays were together in some capacity. So I was really grateful just for that day, just to be there together for Jenny's birthday. Her previous birthday, I had been working and she was in DC. So I got there at like 11 p.m. I saw her for an hour on her actual birthday, which was kind of sad, like that was really a bummer. So it felt good to spend the full day, to wake up, and just be like, happy birthday immediately, and yeah, that was a nice day together. And that's it. Those are my favorite days of the trip. I know that was a lot. And it was funny because I put together this list and I was trying to trim it down, and I just couldn't. I couldn't take anything of this out. In fact, I took a couple things out, and even now I kind of feel bad for taking those out. A lot of stuff from Spain I had to take out because I was like, this is just too much stuff. You know what I mean? I don't want to just tell you about every single day in Spain. We were taken such good care of there. We were treated so good there. But I try to be as focused as possible. Otherwise, this video will be a nightmare for me to edit. It'll be kind of annoying for you to watch. And if you made it this far, thank you. I mean, I'm shocked. You just listened to me ramble for probably half an hour. I've lost track of time. I just, I'm so grateful for, the people who have been invested and cared about this trip. And, I'm grateful for the people we've met along the way that have made these days as spectacular as they have. And I'm grateful for just everything in my life right now, the way my life is and the things I get to see and do. And I would do this forever if I could, because there's of course days that aren't favorites. There are days that I would, say, oh, that's like a least favorite day. That list is so small compared to this. I could probably give you like 4, maybe 5 and that would be it. Like that would be, you know, I couldn't tell you any others. Maybe like a couple days that like were like, it was kind of disappointing, but at the end of the day, we're still in these amazing parts of the world. Who am I gonna be to complain about that? So yeah, those are my favorite days of the first leg. That's just the first leg of it. There's still plenty more. There's still a lot more to see, and I cannot wait to share it. I want to film even more footage for videos like this and videos in the future when I talk about my travels and my journeys. So, you know, hopefully with the next one, there'll be a lot more clips and things to actually see instead of just my face and hand gestures as I ramble. That's the video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your support along the way. I will see you in Japan.